The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
I invite you to pray with me according to your conviction. Let us pray. Father of Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, and Jacob, and Yeshua, may leaders and legislators throughout our beautiful state tirelessly strive for righteousness as much as justice. May our abundant lands strive and cities foster for prosperity as well as security. Defend the dignity of the needy and protection for our children. That our wealthy and generous state would regard our reputation among the poor as much as we regard our children's future. May hope be as common as grain in our midst, and integrity as ubiquitous as water. Scatter fear beyond our borders, O God, and swell our confidence in one another as much as our love, as much as we trust democracy itself. Let us never lose sight of all who serve in uniform or elected office. Keep before our eyes the farmer and the store clerk, the trucker and the builder, the student and the teacher, the soldier, airman, marine, sailor, and guardian, the fallen, and those who love and miss them, the infirm and the elderly, nurses and CNAs, and all who are paid by the hour. Guide each and all, Father, with the highest of virtues, the most noble cause, and the expectation of a costly yet fragile freedom, a hard-earned rest, and to perhaps hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant," in the name above all names. Amen.
The chaplain for today is Reverend Kelly Wasberg, St. John's Lutheran Church in Springfield, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Falconer present.
Go ahead.
Falconer present.
Members, take your conversations to the alcoves. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Falconer present.
Can you say it again?
Falconer
Say it again.
present.
I'll get it on the tape here.
My phone's problem. One more time.
Falconer present.
Again?
Falconer.
Back to
Yeah,
him.
the speaker. Okay, try again.
Falconer present.
Johnson W.
Okay, Johnson W. present.
Johnson W. present. Steer.
Go. Steer present.
Say it again.
Steer present.
Steer present. Vernig.
Present.
Vernig present. Falconer.
Go ahead.
Falconer present.
Falconer present.
The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House 94th Session 2026, 55th Legislative Day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Thursday, April 9th, 2026.
If there's no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Comparison reports. A copy of this order of business is online. If there is no objection, the motions will prevail. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail and the substitutions will be made. Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business is on your desk and online. If there is no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading, House Law number 3404.
Second reading.
Second reading, House Law number 3475.
Second reading. Second reading of Senate files.
Second reading of Senate File number 1251.
Second reading.
Second reading, Senate File number 3868.
Second reading. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 4934 through 4969.
First reading, House files 4934 through 4969. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate file herewith transmitted. Senate File number 3958. The message is signed Thomas S. Bodern, Secretary of the Senate.
First reading of Senate files.
First reading of Senate File number 3958, an act relating to state government. Johnson P. moved that Senate File number 3958 and House File number 3771, now on the General Register, be referred to the Chief Clerk for comparison.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Okay. Got another one? Bernie's here, okay.
Calendar of the day. The first bill on the calendar for today is House File 3544. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3544, an act relating to veterans, the first engrossment.
I recognize a member from Winona, Representative Repinski, who will explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. House File 3544 is an MDVA housekeeping bill that aligns state law with federal conformity standards, including updating outdated statutes related to Agent Orange and other various chemical agents. The bill reclassifies the Chief of Staff to Deputy Commissioner of Administration without adding staff or increasing wages. And this ensures state funds are not directed to individuals who have forfeited federal funds. This title and structural modernization will better reflect responsibilities of the position and preserves the veteran's deputy requirement. The bill was amended in the Health Committee to clarify that forfeiture of benefits is only state veterans' benefits that have been forfeited under federal law. Thank you for hearing this bill today, Madam Speaker, and members, please vote green.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3544.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. I recognize a member from Beltrami, Representative Bliss.
Members, this is a good bill. Please vote green.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Zhejiang.
Good to go.
Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Repinski.
Thank you, chairs, and thank you, folks. I would appreciate a vote for green today. Please support this.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Okay, put it alphabetically. Falconer.
Falconer votes aye.
Falconer votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. I.
Johnson W. votes aye. Steer.
Steer I.
Steer votes aye. Green. She's still here? Oh, can you unlock her? Try it now.
The clerk will close the roll.
And now she's gone, right?
There being 133 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is House File 3467. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3467, an act relating to veterans, the first engrossment.
I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Rehrauer, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House File 3467 will provide a clear statutory authority for the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, or MDVA, to collaborate with other organizations that support our state's veterans. This is not moving money in any way. This is specifically about allowing the agency to provide staff time and support. This bill will amend Minnesota Statute 196.22 to clarify the ability of the Commissioner of MDVA to direct non-monetary resources, specifically non-monetary, to assist in initiatives relating to food insecurity, homelessness, and suicide prevention. You might be wondering why we need to do this. Well, recently the Disabled American Veterans, or DAV, wanted to create a food pantry network, and MDVA was able to find a partner for funding this. Currently, they have food pantries serving the Minneapolis VA, but we want to create a more statewide program. MDVA would like to be able to support this initiative with some staff time and by sharing their expertise. Specifically, staff can help with problem solving and provide programmatic expertise. Eventually, it will be a fully DAV program, but MDVA just wants to get it going. There will also be a reporting requirement within the bill each year to the leaders of our veterans committees in both the Senate and the House about any agency's activities that occurred under the law. It's important to note also this is permissive, not a requirement. So if MDVA didn't have the staff time or other priorities required staff time, then they simply don't do it. Finally, Minnesotans are facing a severe affordability crisis, and many veterans are being hit especially hard. No one who served our country should struggle to put food on the table or a roof over their head. By allowing MDVA to collaborate with local partners, more of Minnesota veterans will be able to access the services they need and deserve. Thank you.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3467.
Third reading. And members, please take your conversations to the alcoves or to the retiring room. It's getting a little bit loud. Further discussion to the bill. I recognize a member from Beltrami, Representative Bliss.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a common sense bill, just provides a little bit more flexibility to the department, and I recommend a green vote.
Any further discussion to the bill? I recognize the author, Representative Rehrauer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll try to keep it short. Just want to thank my GOP committee colleagues for working with me to amend the bill and tighten it up. And thank you to Chairs Zhang and Chair Bliss for hearing the bill and supporting it and moving it to the floor. Please vote green.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Go ahead.
Falconer, aye.
Falconer votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. I.
Johnson W. votes aye. Purcell.
Okay, go ahead.
Purcell, aye.
Purcell votes aye. Steer.
Steer, I.
Steer votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 133 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is Senate File 2511. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 2511, an act relating to liquor, the unofficial engrossment.
I recognize the member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. The file and bill before us, Senate File 2511, is the annual or biennial liquor bill. There are 17 different provisions in here. With those 17 different provisions, there are, number one that's worth noting is many of you have seen and heard in the news what's called the Granny Happy Hour, where assisted living and nursing homes have in the past offered alcohol to their residents in a kind of a happy hour social interaction. And DPS said, no go, we're fixing that provision in the law. That in of itself is the reason to for sure vote yes for it, but let me give you some other reasons about why you want to vote yes for this bill. It also takes care of a lot of local issues as relates to liquor law, allowing a lot of University of Minnesota campuses to be able to serve alcohol for different kinds of events that they may be hosting on their campus or on their premises, as well as a host of other local bills. Madam Speaker, there is one amendment, and it's a technical author's amendment to get the bill in the shape that we need it. And I'd like to have that amendment introduced today.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
O'Driscoll moves to amend Senate File number 2511, the unofficial engrossment. The amendment is coded A12.
I recognize a member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll, to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. The A12 amendment, we've been working on this bill for 2 years. There were some questions that DPS, Department of Public Safety, and specifically within the department, the division, the AGE, or AGE, the Alcohol, Gaming, and Enforcement, had some questions. We were able to work some language out. There's peace in the valley using Representative David's cliche here. And so I ask members to vote yes on the A12 amendment to get the bill in the shape that we needed for final passage today.
I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would urge my members to vote in favor as well. It's a good amendment, the way that we should be doing this kind of stuff. So thank you.
All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended.
Third reading, Senate File number 2511, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I did set the bill up before we took the amendment, but again, just as a reminder, it contains a large number of clarifications, including the Granny Happy Hour, the use of coolers and stuff within establishments that sell both intoxicating and non-intoxicating beverages, as well as a number of local provisions. And Madam Speaker, with that, I would encourage a yes vote.
I recognize the member from Stearns, Representative Perryman. I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank Chair O'Driscoll. This is, you know, a good bill. We were able to get a lot of good things done for our local communities, and yeah, just want to say vote yes. Good bill. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Dakota, Representative Hewitt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative O'Driscoll and Representative Cagle, for this bill. It's been wonderful to work with you through the years, Representative O'Driscoll. I'm going to miss you, both in real estate and now the alcohol world, I guess. So the only thing I'm disappointed about is we didn't move the needle on 3.2 indefinitely. We've been working with the microbreweries to open up markets for them. That wasn't touched yet, but I hope to years to come that we're able to go after and conquer those two areas. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the member from Polk, Representative Gander.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Rise in support of Senate File 2511. I would like to thank co-chairs O'Driscoll and Cagle, along with this whole Commerce and Finance Committee, for your work on this bill over the last 2 years. It takes a little tenacity to move these things, and I really do appreciate that. You know, the University of Minnesota has been kind of stuck under some constraints that have been there almost as far back as the Lewis and Clark expedition. And this bill absolutely takes them out from under those constraints. And so again, thank you for everyone, and I encourage a green vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Nadeau.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Section 2 is the greatest part of this bill, and just to remind everyone, this provides this and it started in my district. It started in a assisted living facility in Champlin, Minnesota, and this provides a limited exception to liquor laws for licensed assisted living, boarding care facilities, and nursing homes. Only when consumption is for residential activities. It's effectively the happy hour bill for senior citizens. Remember that these facilities are already licensed. They're subject to MDH rules regarding food safety, storage, and it represents what we should be doing here a lot more of, and that's, finding agreement between the long-term care imperative, the Department of Public Safety, the Department of Health, and our grandparents. So with that, vote yes. Thank you, members.
Further discussion to the bill. I recognize Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I don't really have any more to add to this other than I'm going to close with a line from one of Minnesota's homegrown bands, Semisonic. It's closing time. Let's vote yes.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Falconer votes aye.
Falconer votes aye. Green.
Green votes aye.
Green votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. Aye.
Johnson W. votes aye. Purcell.
Purcell, aye.
Purcell votes aye. Steer.
You're up, vote aye.
Steer, aye.
Steer votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is passed as amended and its title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is House File 3437. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3437, an act relating to commerce, the first engrossment.
I recognize a member from Goodhue, Representative Allen, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House File 3437 is a bill that makes clear and certain mortgage lending protections applied to consumer home loans made for personal, family, or household purposes and not to commercial or business purpose loans. This helps ensure our statutes are clear, predictable, and provides certainty to borrowers, lenders, and regulators alike. I'd also like to note that legal aid worked with stakeholders on the language to improve this bill in order to make sure it was a balanced and thoughtful proposal. Members, this is a straightforward bill. It provides options to borrowers, and I would also appreciate your agreeing vote on this. Thank you.
The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3437.
Third reading. Members, remember to take your conversations to the alcoves. Discussion to the bill. I recognize a member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members. It's a great bill. Vote yes.
I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the author and Chair O'Driscoll. We heard this bill early on in session, and there was some concerns. We laid it over, and Representative Allen did the work, brought stakeholders together to address concerns, and here we have the product of that work. We have a bill that allows easier access to loans but protects borrowers' homes so that they're not able to be used as collateral, which is an important protection for homeowners. So thank you, Representative Allen, for doing the work, and vote yes.
Further discussion to the bill? I recognize the author, Representative Allen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, this bill is about clarity, fairness, and making sure Minnesota law is clear and consistent and works the way it was intended. This is also a great, excellent opportunity to point out that when the work is done, bills get passed. Thank you for everybody that worked together on this in order to be able to get this across the finish line. I urge a green vote.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Falconer votes aye.
Falconer votes aye. Green.
Green votes aye.
Say it again.
Green votes aye.
Green votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. votes aye.
Johnson W. votes aye. Purcell.
Purcell, aye.
Purcell votes aye. Steer.
Steer, aye.
Steer votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 133 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and the title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is House File 3479. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3479, an act relating to mortgage foreclosures, the second engrossment.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill clarifies the existing right of homeowners to postpone a mortgage foreclosure sale. In 2009, during the foreclosure crisis, the Minnesota legislature passed a bill to help homeowners save their homes from foreclosure by allowing them to postpone the mortgage sale. In Minnesota, prior to the sale, a homeowner need come up only with the amount in arrears plus costs and fees to reinstate. After the sale, the homeowner has to come up with the entire remaining balance of the mortgage. That's called redemption. The statute we're amending today was intended to extend the period in which the homeowner can reinstate. This law has helped innumerable homeowners keep their homes. Lenders and homeowners alike agree that it is far better to give the homeowner every opportunity to keep the house and continue mortgage payments than having the lender wind up with the house. This bill ensures that more homeowners can have the opportunity to save their homes from foreclosure. 3 circumstances have arisen where it is unclear whether the homeowner's right to postpone applies. The first is in the situation where the lender has first postponed the sale. The second is the situation where a homeowner has postponed the sale, reinstated or redeemed, but in the future falls into foreclosure, and the lender has to start the process all over again. The third is the situation where the homeowner in foreclosure dies before the sale. So this bill will clarify those 3 situations. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to Ron Elwood from Legal Aid for putting this bill together. I also want to thank the Real Property section of the Minnesota State Bar Association, the Minnesota Credit Union Network, the Minnesota Land Title Association, Minnesota Realtors, and Bank Inn, all of whom have vetted this bill and have no problems with it, and some of which provided recommended language which we have adopted. Thank you for your consideration, members. I hope to earn your green vote on this bill.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its 3rd reading.
3rd reading, House File Number 3479.
3rd reading. Discussion to the bill. I recognize the author, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will interpret that silence to mean that both co-chairs really like this bill. That would seem to be consistent with what happened in the committee. There was no objection to it. I look forward to earning members' green votes, so thank you for your consideration.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Go ahead.
Falconer votes aye.
Falconer votes aye. Green.
Green votes aye.
Green votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. votes aye.
Johnson W. votes aye. Purcell.
Purcell, aye.
Purcell votes aye. Steer.
Steer, aye.
Steer votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 128 ayes and 5 nays, the bill is passed and the title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is House File 4118. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 4118, an act relating to financial institutions, the first engrossment.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we've been very talkative on the floor today, and you are all going to want to listen to this bill because it is very exciting. It has to do with deposit insurance for our cold, hard cash deposits at credit unions here in Minnesota. We likely are all familiar with the phrase FDIC insured, though those of us who do our banking with a credit union may recognize NCUA insured instead. House File 4118 is a bill brought forward by the Minnesota credit unions, which would allow state-chartered credit unions to access and utilize private deposit share insurance instead of through the National Credit Union Association. Credit unions will still be required to obtain approved deposit insurance and will be unable to operate without such coverage. Private insurers must meet federal regulatory standards, and the Commissioner of Commerce retains full authority to prohibit any private insurer from operating here in Minnesota if they have doubts about their ability to fulfill those standards. So a very simple bill. It ensures choice for our local credit unions here in Minnesota, and I would appreciate a green vote today, Madam Speaker.
The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 4118.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Goodhue, Representative Allen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand in strong support of this bill, House File 4188. In plain, simple terms, it gives credit unions additional insurance framework beyond the traditional federal structures while maintaining state oversight rules. This is not uncharted territory. Other states have done this already and allowed a similar model, such as Alabama, California, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Montana, Nevada, Ohio, and even Texas. Minnesota has an opportunity to learn from proven models and modernize our laws responsibly. I stand in support and urge a green vote.
Further discussion to the bill? I recognize the author, Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, vote green, just like our money that will be insured in credit unions. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Falconer votes aye.
Falconer votes aye. Green.
Green votes aye.
Green votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. votes aye.
Johnson W. votes aye. Purcell.
Purcell, aye.
Purcell votes aye. Steer.
Steer, aye.
Steer votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 131 ayes and 2 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is House File 4241. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 4241, an act relating to elections, the first engrossment.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg, to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill is something of a local government minibus bill. It includes 3 provisions. The first provision requires candidates for Three Rivers Parks Commissioner to file a statement of economic interest. We restructured this statute a few years ago, and this office was accidentally left out from the offices that have to report that. The second provision in the bill makes a change in the statute dealing with coroners. The Hennepin County Board must impanel a board to evaluate and recommend applicants for appointment to the position of the Hennepin County Medical Examiner. Existing language, however, in state law mandates that the panel be filled from professional organizations that do not exist, such as the Minnesota Society of Pathologists. The bill updates the board membership to include qualified representatives from the University of Minnesota Medical School, Hennepin Healthcare, and the Medical Examiner's Office. The third provision relates to elections for the Rochester School Board. A 1974 special law treats at-large seats on the Rochester School Board as distinct parallel contests. The vast majority of school districts statewide use a traditional at-large system where voters select multiple candidates from a single pool. The Rochester School Board unanimously approved a resolution to change the system to conform to standard practice. These are good governance proposals that were not controversial in committee, and I encourage members to support the bill.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House Bill number 4241.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. I recognize the author, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm feeling a little sad that nobody wants to speak on any of my bills. I know all the other bills we've heard today have gotten co-chairs from both parties speaking, but I'm going to interpret that as a good sign because these are non-controversial provisions and I can't imagine anyone opposing them. So I would encourage members to vote green. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Falconer votes aye.
Falconer votes aye. Green.
Green votes aye.
Green votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. votes aye.
Johnson W. votes aye. Purcell.
Purcell aye.
Purcell votes aye. Steer.
Steer, aye.
Steer votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 124 ayes and 9 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is House File 3699. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3699, an act relating to natural resources, the first engrossment.
I recognize a member from Ramsey, Representative Gottfried, to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And if you did not enjoy Chair O'Driscoll's comments at the end, little quip there, you're going to hate this. I'm happy to speak on House File 3699, the agate plate bill today. This bill may not plot a bolder path forward, but it is fun, and I would characterize it as highly uncontroversial. House File 3699 amends a 2024 law establishing a license plate contest for the state park plate that is to be conducted by the DNR, which has not yet been fulfilled. Specifically, this bill amends the focus of the contest to center on the North Shore and the Lake Superior agate, our state gemstone since 1969. This bill also specifies that only a Minnesotan artist may submit a design and that the DNR must select a winner by December 18th of this year so that we can close the loop on this contest before any changes of administration comes about. You get the gist of it. We have tens of thousands of agate-head Minnesotans eager to snatch up agate-themed license plates. A huge shout-out to my rock star constituent, Lars Leafblad, whose enthusiasm for the Lake Superior agate inspired this particular bill. This contest would celebrate a uniquely Minnesotan heritage that has seen thousands upon thousands of Minnesotans throughout our history hunting for agates on the rocky shores of Lake Superior, passing down memories from one generation to the next. And because one thing is for certain, we all have our faults, but rocks are cool. With that, I ask for your support because I do not want to take it for granted. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3699.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. I recognize a member from Crow Wing, Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Gottfried, I do have a question, and I trying to get an answer. I might have given you a little bit of a heads up, so hopefully we've come to be able to find the information. Representative Gottfried, I'm wondering how the contest organizers are going to establish that those submitting their art, not AI generated, are confirmed to be residents of the state of Minnesota.
Are you asking Representative Gottfried to yield?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Representative Gottfried will yield. Representative Gottfried.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Chair Heinzman, for that very, very important question, given our recent legislative history here. I would leave it to the phenomenal skills and talents of the Department of Natural Resources to rule make and come up with a way to determine the residency status of those artists submitting their artwork for the contest.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that answer. As we are debating this bill today, I think that legislative intent can be established, and they can understand and recognize that our intent is that there is a very thorough process to establish residency. Thank you, Representative Gottfried.
Further discussion? I recognize a member from St. Louis, Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support, not just for shits and giggles, but for real, for real support for the intent. Those
Point
of us
of order.
that work with rocks in our district
Withdrawn.
know what they are. But I'm glad that the district that I represent is going to be well represented on the plate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion to the bill. Representative Gottfried, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May the most divisive thing that happens today be my terrible puns. Vote green and rock on all. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Falconer.
Go ahead.
Falconer is not in between a rock and a hard place on this vote. I vote aye.
Falconer votes aye. Green.
Green votes green.
Green votes aye. Johnson W.
Johnson W. votes aye.
Johnson W. votes aye. Purcell.
Try again. You try again.
Didn't get that. Purcell.
Try it again.
Purcell.
All right, one more time.
Purcell, aye.
Purcell votes aye. Steer.
Steer, aye.
Steer votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 110 ayes and 22 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to. Motions and resolution. There are non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail.
'68 be recalled from the Committee on Workforce, Labor, and Economic Development, Finance, and Policy, and be re-referred to the Committee on Taxes.
I recognize the member from Candy, Ohio, Representative Baker, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, that is my motion. House File, where did it go? 4668. I'd like to have that referred to the Tax Committee. I did talk to the co-chair of the Tax Committee. It's a Explore Minnesota tax film credit bill that we'd like to have heard. So thank you. That's my motion.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't know that my co-chair had spoken with his co-chair about it, but no problem. That's okay. No objection to this motion. I think it does make sense to get the bill to the Taxes Committee. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Further discussion of the motion? All those in favor, aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails.
Altendorf moves that House File number 4319, now on the General Register, be re-referred to the Committee on Taxes.
I recognize the member from Goodhue, Representative Altendorf, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. That is my motion. It's House File 4319, which was heard in the Elections Local Government Committee, and we want to re-refer it to the Tax Committee to make sure that there is no tax implications, but we want to dot our I's and cross our T's.
Any discussion to the motion? I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Representative Altendorf say a little bit more about the bill? Nobody spoke to me as the co-chair of taxes about this coming into our committee's purview, so I'd like to know a little bit more.
Representative Altendorf, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I apologize for that. We had talked to my CA and to the chair of taxes, and what this is a port authority bill. So Lake City is a port authority, and what the bill is doing is port authorities automatically have the ability to tax, and what this bill does is it removes Lake City's ability to tax. That's why we did not think it had to go to the Tax Committee, but we want to make sure that it goes there so that there's no question later.
Further discussion to the motion? All those in favor, aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails.
Pursuant to House Rule 4.30, Scott moves that the rules be so far suspended so that House File number 1234 be recalled from the Committee on Ways and Means, be given its second reading, and be placed on the General Register.
I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Scott, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is House File 1234. I know, it's clever, right? And this is the payment transparency bill. It was sent to Ways and Means because we were waiting on a fiscal note from the Met Council. The Met Council came back and said zero cost, so this is just a motion to send it to move it from Ways and Means to the General Register. I've spoken with both the Ways and Means chairs. Thank you.
Further discussion to the motion? Any further discussion to the motion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Announcements. I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, April 16, 2026.
Representative Niska moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, April 16th, 2026. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Representative Niska.
I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Niska moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails, and the House stands adjourned until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, April 16th, 2026.